Okay, I got one here. Josh F. 1989 says, here are six pending UFAs after the 24-25 season. What do you expect to be done with each of them? Sign, trade, or expire? The UFAs are Dvorak, Armia, Evans, Pizzetta, Savard, and Kovacevic. Well, I would say that I expect all of those guys to be gone after next season, except maybe Jake Evans. Um, but it will depend on a multitude of factors. First of all, well, the depth in the middle is not huge, so it
Mm.
depends. We just talked about first round pick. Do the Canadiens end up drafting a centerman? If they do, that might change the landscape. They'll have Owen Beck, who will arrive in Laval in the fall, but otherwise, there's not that many guys um, that are available in the pipeline. If they are committed to having Newhook mainly as a winger and not a centerman, um, then they might just need Evans. So it'll if he's able to be not too greedy in his demands, and I don't think that he's in a position to be. Um, I could see the Canadiens trying to re-sign him at roughly the same amount, but he's not on a good team. He's a fourth liner. He's a fourth line centerman. So you cannot give him a whole lot more than what you're already giving him. You could argue that it's already too much for a fourth line centerman. But there's a matter of need. There's a matter of also the role that he fills. He's the forward that plays the most in the NHL on the PK this year. They
Mm.
relied on him heavily. If he leaves, if Dvorak leaves at the end of the season, well, then you'll need guys to play on the PK too. So those are factors. I think that there's still a fit there. As to who would be just traded or whose contract would expire, depends where the team is going to be um, at the trade deadline. I think it's too early to say, well, would they trade Dvorak, Armia, Savard, or the other ones? I wouldn't venture to guess on that. But of that group, Evans seems to me like the only one who conceivably would get a next contract with Montreal.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't see any. I mean, Evans obviously would depend on term, but if he were like basically, you'd like Evans as a bridge to back,
Yeah.
or maybe even Jacki if they see Florian Jacki as a possibility as a fourth line center. The future fourth line of the Canadiens is also coming into view, and I don't feel it gets enough play. But Florian Jacki who showed up in Laval, you had Luke Tuck who showed up in Laval. Owen Beck will be in Laval, as you mentioned, in the fall. Uh, you have potential elements of a future fourth line also entering into the system. So yeah, if Evans agrees to serve as that bridge or provide a temporary insurance policy for someone like Beck, who I don't want to cap him as a fourth line center, but really seems to be someone who could turn into a pretty high end fourth line center. I would agree that he'd be the only one out of that group that would be re-signed. And, I think if the Canadiens are close to contention, then yes, guys like Armia and Dvorak would probably be kept in order to help them reach the playoffs if they're close. And if not, they could be traded at the deadline. Armia is the one guy that strikes me as perhaps being willing to take less to come back out of that whole
Oh
group.
yeah.
I
Okay.
think, just what he found last year in this environment, working with JF Bernard, working with Marty St. Louis, just the best version of himself that he's been looking for so long that maybe he'll tell himself, you know what, sometimes I've made a lot of money. If I want to keep playing in the NHL, maybe this is a good spot for me. And he could be part of that fourth line mix or third line mix or what have you, and take like kind of a short term deal at less money, depending on how the season goes next year. Maybe he'd be that guy, but I don't think the Canadiens would be enticed if they had to give him a raise or give him a long term deal. Then I think that's a non starter.
The difference, I know that they're in a different situation, but there's a difference I see between Armia and, let's say, Anderson or Gallagher, is that Armia can have a specific role,
Yeah.
like on a deployment on your team. But Anderson and Gallagher, over the course of their career, have demonstrated that they're not good on the power play.
Yeah.
So if they are pushed to your
Army is
bottom
better than them.
six, yeah,
Army is better
the
than
power
them
play?
on the power
Yeah.
play. Yes.
yeah, for sure. He can help out as a bumper.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely good on the PKs. Their best penalty killer, better than Evans, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got Anderson and Gallagher who are pushed to your bottom six at even strength, and they cannot help out on both of these your special teams, then there's contracts way even high. It's way even heavier on your salary cap. Whereas Armia, at a discount, fills a role that not necessarily a ton of guys would be able to jump in and do for you right away. So, but at the same time, if he's available at trade deadline, I could see a team making a run for him and offering something, but assuming that he continues on that trend and remains the version that we saw of him this year. But yeah, it remains. It still sounds unlikely for that same principle of saying we don't want to sign older players that will block the way to younger players coming in.
I think we could safely answer the question by saying that none of those guys will be brought back with a raise. That's a safe assumption. Okay, so yes, Evans might come back. Yes, I think maybe Armia might be willing to come back at a lower number, but I think for the rest of them, it's likely that they're, this is a real opportunity for Montreal. Like that, the end of next season opens a financial window because the year after that, Carey Price's contract expires. The year after that, the Gallagher and Anderson contracts expire. So it's really they've bridged this window to get to the end of next season where they can really take hold of their finances and really make it this administration's financial portrait. Like it's really the prior administration's residue has run everything the Canadiens have done financially since Gorton and Hughes took over. And so at the end of next season is really their first opportunity to have a stranglehold on their own finances. And it's the starting point of that. So it'd be hard to see them bringing guys back that limit their ability to fully take advantage of that. Because it would also coincide with a moment when, at some point the cap's going to go up higher than the 5% that it's been going up. It's going to go and once again be calculated based on hockey related revenue, which will also somewhat coincide with this time. So it's an opportunity that I think this administration is looking forward to a great deal.
All right. Do you want to pick a last one before we wrap it up?
Okay. Let's see. So we have one from Hugo, who asked, we've been discussing the possibility of the Canadiens adding another top six forward this summer, as it seems to be Hugo's modus operandi. However, I'm starting to think that the smarter move might be to acquire a bona fide top four defenseman. When looking at the teams that made the playoffs this year, actually, we kind of discussed this, so maybe we should choose something. Maybe we should choose something else. So let me go to the Twitter questions. Oh, yeah, it's not this. This comes from the Gargoyle on X. Is there a case to be made to use a high-value pick on Cole Hutson for the Habs?
Oh, the brother.
The brother who has set the US NTDP record for scoring by a defenseman. So something that Lane never managed to do. I mean, I would say, listen, if the Canadiens want to draft Cole Hutson, like enough teams saw what happened with Lane Hutson that this is not going to happen again with Cole Hutson. So if the Canadiens want to draft Cole Hutson, they would have to use that Jets pick. He's not going to get to the Avalanche pick at the end of the second round. So, and as I just mentioned, I would be very surprised if the Canadiens used that Jets pick to draft a player. So my initial answer would be no. they probably won't have the pick available to them to use to draft Cole Hutson. And really, I mean, I guess this is debatable, but you know, how many Hutson style players, and this is a dangerous game to play, you know, you never want to, but Lane Hutson looks like such a, I don't want to say can't miss, but very promising NHL defenseman for them. You can't really build an NHL defense with two of those guys. It's hard. It'll be hard.
Of that shape? No.
Of that shape. That's what I'm saying. Of that size, that profile. And plus, but yeah. So the answer is no on two regards. A, they have that player or similar player, and maybe Cole Hutson will be better than Lane Hutson, and maybe the Canadiens will regret not drafting him. But they're in that boat, and I don't think they'll have the pick because I think that Jets pick is going to be used in some way to make some sort of trade. So on both accounts, I don't think they would.